All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Rene Carranza. Thank you for participating in the Federal Interagency Military Spouses Career Expo, featuring 15 federal agencies. This session being hosted by the USDA will start momentarily. For this afternoon's session, your microphone has been muted upon entry to the meeting. The meeting host will prompt you to activate your microphone to speak during the Q&A session. Your video feed is fully active as your hosts are able to see you. Please use the chat area to direct questions, comments, remarks to the agency's representatives. All the afternoon sessions will be recorded. Recording links will be emailed to all attendees in the days following today's event. PDF files of today's presentations will also be emailed as the federal agencies provide them. As we near the end of this session, your host will encourage you to leave this meeting and join any one of the other 15 meetings that will be about to start. At that time, exit this meeting and click on the Zoom link for the next federal agency you wish to visit. If you prefer to stay in this meeting, please feel free to do so. If you have any questions or need assistance, click on this morning's general session Zoom link you used to join us, where help is standing by. Now I'd like to welcome Karen Comfort to start this meeting.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the USDA session and overview. I'm going to ask Renee to go ahead and start the PowerPoint presentation that we have for you all this afternoon. Before he gets started, I want to let you all know that I am USDA's Chief Employee Experience Officer. I've been in this role for a little over a year, and it really is my pleasure to be leading the department's effort in this particular space. So let me know whether or not you all can see the PowerPoint. There we go. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page so you all will know what to expect today. So as you all know, there are going to be several 45-minute sessions. We're on the next slide, Renee. So again, this is the USDA session so that you know that you're in the right place. I'm going to provide you all with a 20-minute overview about the USDA organization, and then we will open it up for any questions that you may have based on what you hear this afternoon. Next slide. Before I get into this slide, I just want to let you all know that USDA is one of the largest federal executive departments in the federal government. And so you will hear more about how our organization is set up and about, again, our career opportunities. In the summer of 2021, President Biden signed an Executive Order 14035, advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce. And within that particular executive order, the president pointed out several communities where we wanted the federal departments to focus on increasing opportunities for employment and advancement. One of those targeted communities were veterans and military spouses. In addition, there is a White House initiative called Joining Forces that kind of focuses on government at all levels, local, state, and federal, nonprofit, and private sectors to mitigate the challenges and drive economic opportunities for military spouses who have the highest unemployment response rate. And I do want to unemployment, not response rate, but unemployment rate. And I do want to mention that I'm very proud to be a military spouse myself. My husband served in the United States Marine Corps. So I know that military spouses are highly educated. And so it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me that this particular group would have the highest unemployment rate. So again, USDA is committed to creating opportunities for top diverse talent, and we know that military spouses actually meet that particular requirement. USDA is a partner with the Department of Defense Military Spouse Employment Partnership, so we're really proud of that. Next slide. So as I mentioned, USDA is a very large federal department with a workforce of over 100,000 employees that are located in 4,500 rather locations all throughout the United States and overseas. We have employees in the Foreign Senior Office. We have foreign senior officers, I'm sorry, within our Foreign Agricultural Service. So not only do we have representation in terms of our workforce in the United States, but again, overseas. So we have 8 mission areas, 29 agencies, and we have the Office of the Secretary and Departmental Administration. So here you see how the USDA is organized. And again, we'll get a little bit more into our overall organization as we move through this overview this afternoon. I think what we do is very important. USDA is known as the People's Department and was founded by President Abraham Lincoln, who named us the People's Department. We provide leadership on food, agricultural and natural resources, rural development, nutrition, and related issues based on public policy, the best available science and data, and effective management. Our vision is to provide economic opportunity through innovation, helping rural America to thrive, to promote agricultural production that better nourishes Americans while also helping feed others throughout the world, and to preserve our nation's natural resources through conservation, restored forests, improved watersheds, and healthy private working lands. And I think that we have a really great mission because, as our current Secretary of Agriculture says often, we touch lives every day in every possible way. As I mentioned, we have several mission areas, and I'm proud to say that we have several representatives from the agencies within these mission areas on this session with me today. I'll let you know in a few minutes which of those particular mission areas and agencies are represented. But in terms of our mission areas, we have the farm production and conservation mission area, the food, nutrition, and consumer services mission area, the food safety mission area, marketing and regulatory programs mission area, the natural resources and environment mission area, the research, education, and economics mission area, the rural development mission area, and finally, the trade and foreign agricultural affairs mission area. And on the line today, we have representation from the Agricultural Research Service, which falls under the Research, Education, and Economics mission area. We have the Forest Service that falls under our Natural Resources and Environment mission area. We have Rural Development, which is a mission area in and of itself. So is the Forest Service. We have Departmental Administration, where I am actually employed. And then we have the Animal, Plant, and Health Inspection Service, which is under our Marketing and Regulatory Programs mission area. So they're all on board here today to answer any questions you may have when we get to our Q&A session. So what's really interesting to me is when I have an opportunity to go out across the countryside, and what I mean about going out across the countryside, I actually land on college campuses and also installations. Fort Hood and Fort Campbell are 2 installations where I've gone and actually conducted research and done overviews about our employment opportunities at USDA, and also resume writing workshops. And I don't think that those potential candidates that I talk to often realize that USDA isn't made of just a bunch of farmers or biologists or chemists, but we have a really wide swath of career opportunities here at USDA. So the actual positions that are listed here are common positions that cut across all of our mission areas and agencies, from human resources to EEO positions, budget analyst, a lot of administrative positions, And those positions that are typically unique are like soil conservationists that fall under our Natural Resource and Conservation Service, or agricultural commodity graders that exist within our marketing and regulatory program in the Agricultural Marketing Service. Or we have meat inspectors that are in our Food Safety and Inspection Service. You won't find those particular positions, or for example, our fire technicians that are over in the Forest Service. You won't find those types of positions in each and every one of our agencies. But again, these positions that we have listed here on this particular slide, they cut across typically all of the different mission areas in 29 agencies and departmental offices that we have here at USDA. Next slide. We are really excited about our two unique employee organizations that are led by employees and that are driven by employees here at USDA. Our newly established Military Spouse Association already has 350 plus members. I can say that they have hit the ground running. We have Bridget D that is on, and hopefully Christine Tompkins has joined us today. They are the co-founders of the Military Spouse Association, and they actually co-lead this particular association here at USDA. They actually led the organization of today's Career Expo across the entire federal government, and we're really excited about all of the good work that they are doing already on behalf of military spouses and veterans here at USDA. We also have our Veterans Employee Organization that has been around for quite some time, that has a membership of over 400 employees representing all branches of service. They meet on a monthly basis, similar to our Military Spouse Association. They hold recruitment events. Most recently, we've been holding roundtable discussions with the Office of the Secretary. I think it's very exciting that our employee resource groups have a direct line of communication to our Office of the Secretary. That is something that my particular office leads. And so we have those types of roundtable discussions with the Secretary and the Deputy Secretary. And then we have flash mentoring events as well. So we have a lot of resources and tools, not only to attract military spouses and veterans, but retention is very important to us as well, which is a focus of my role as the Employee Experience Officer here at USDA. We not only want to attract top diverse talent, we want them to want to stay at USDA and have a career with us. Just some things that it's important to know when you are thinking about applying for a federal government career. You need to make sure you include your your marriage certificate and your military orders. Another thing that's very important, and I said early on that one of the things that I do in my role are resume writing workshops. And what I find is that oftentimes there's this myth that for a federal career, you need a one-page resume. A one-page resume will most likely result in you not being qualified for the position. The federal government recruitment process and resume process is not similar to nonprofit or private industry. When you apply for a federal career, you need to make sure that your resume is very detailed, reflecting your education and your work experience. There is something in the job opportunity announcement or vacancy announcement, whichever you prefer to call it, referred to as specialized experience. You need to make sure when applying for a federal job and actually working on your resume, you pay attention to the specialized experience and make sure that the experience that is reflected in your resume addresses the specialized experience. If you have the experience, let's just make sure that you demonstrate that you have that specialized experience when you are talking about your accomplishments, your duties, and your responsibility in your resume. Make sure that you complete the assessment. Make sure you pay attention to all of the required documents, because again, if you do not submit them, most likely you will be disqualified. Most important, don't delay when you are applying for a federal career, because again, you need to spend a lot of time tailoring your resume to the particular position for which you are applying. One resume does not fit all. So this particular slide has a list of USDA points of contact that you can reach out to if you have any questions about the different mission areas that were named today, or any questions about any employment opportunities that we have here at USDA. Again, we are a very large federal department with a workforce of over 100,000 employees in 4,500 locations throughout the US and overseas. We most definitely have employment opportunities available here for you. A lot of our agencies and mission areas are going through hiring surges. So we are hoping that you will consider a career, not a job, a career here with us at USDA. And I'm going to conclude. I think there's one more slide, thanking you all for joining us this afternoon. If you are interested in joining another career expo for the additional federal agencies that are participating this afternoon, please refer back to your Career Expo roadmap. And thank you again. And I'm going to open it up for any questions that you all have. And I'm going to ask if those colleagues from USDA that are here with me this afternoon, if they will turn on their cameras so that they can assist with answering any questions you have.
Thank you for that presentation today, Karen. I'm Bridget D. I'm the Military Spouse Association's Vice President. I just wanted to quick hop on and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Now is the time that if you do have questions that you'd like to pose to any of the agencies, ask away and see if we can help you get your foot in the door here with the federal government, and especially within the USDA. I know they're very motivated to help you find your next position. One thing I would like to mention very quickly is that there was a typo on our Career Expo roadmap. So if you are trying to visit FEMA as a follow-up location, I'm going to drop the new link in the chat. Please save that if you would like to visit them. The previous link was not leading to the correct location. Aside from that, thanks again for joining us, and let's move on to the next portion. Thank you.
I see someone named Janet Oliver has her hand up. Janet, you can come off mute and ask your question, or if you feel more comfortable, you can put it in the chat.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I had to put myself off mute. So I currently work with the USDA. I've been with you guys for a year, and now my husband, of course, being active duty, he landed on orders. So currently I'm trying to see how I can maneuver, either move into a remote position or move into a position that is where we're going to be at, which is in Colorado Springs. So that's where I'm struggling with currently at this time, because I still want to stay and have a career with the USDA. So.
Yeah, I believe this has come up before. And one of the things I want to let you know is please utilize the Military Spouse Association as a resource. And that would be Christine and Bridget. And then Sharon and myself. Sharon Randall. Sharon, Can you wave? And I can be of assistance. So it sounds like your current position that you're in is not remote. Did we lose her?
I think it was Janet Oliver, and if Janet, you're on mute right now.
Okay. I'm not sure what's happening, but Janet, please reach out
Can you hear me
to,
now? I'm sorry.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Okay. What was the question again? Sorry, I was trying to get this on mute.
It sounds like your current position is not remote.
No, ma'am. They were in this transition trying to figure out what positions were going to be eligible for remote and stuff. So mine wasn't one of them. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. So did you hear me say to reach out to Sharon, Randall, myself, Christine Tompkins, and Bridget D. And let's see what we can do to assist you to navigate through that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. So I just send you guys an email then?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
Janet, and specifically, if you want to just CC the MSA admin, it will come up when you're entering the address in your email. But
Okay.
we'll be able to take a look at that. This is a common thing that we see. It's probably the most common problem that we've come across. So being a young agency, or a young employee organization, we're still trying to navigate this and figure this out. And each situation is a case-by-case basis, because unfortunately, certain positions do have in-person requirements, and it's impossible to have some of those go virtual. But even in the worst case scenario that you're unable to continue with your current position, we can also help you navigate and find other resources so that you'll be able to find a new job. But do send us an email so that we can try to network. As we mentioned before in the previous session, networking is your #1 tool that's going to help you to find the people that can lead you to your next position. I wouldn't currently be in my position now if it weren't for a network.
I agree. That's why I'm here. So
Great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And hopefully you're a member, you're among the 350, it's a member of the Military Spouse Association here at USDI.
Is there like a way that I can
Reach out, yeah, reach out to Bridget.
Okay, I got you. I got you. I'll put everything in the email then. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, I saw 2 other hands go up.
We have Karen next.
Okay, Karen.
I'm
Okay.
asking her to unmute now.
Okay. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I missed it earlier, but I have a question. So my husband.
So Karen, you're going in and out for some reason. Like we're getting every other word.
For the Forest Service, but he is a 100% veteran, and I'm just wondering what are the, I guess. Okay, can you hear me better?
So Karen, we didn't hear anything that you said, unfortunately. I'm not too sure if you're moving around or what. Maybe you want to try again. If we can't hear you, I'm going to request that you put your question in the chat. But your audio was not very good. You were not coming through clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know what that was. It wouldn't let me unmute, and it wouldn't let me post anything in the chat. I apologize.
Oh, wow.
So darn Verizon. Anyways. So my question was, my husband currently works for the USDA. He is part of the U.S. Forest Service. He is a 100% disabled veteran, and I'm wondering, what are the documentation list, or where can I find the documentation list when I do apply for jobs to get that so that they know I am a military spouse. I wasn't sure everything. Is it marriage certificate? Is it his DD 214? I'm not 100% sure of all the documentations that need to be included.
I'm going to kick that question to Sharon Randall.
Okay, so Karen, I appreciate the question. You will need to provide DD 214. You'll also need to apply the most recent disability letter.
Okay.
Stating that he became disabled, along with marriage certificate, all of those wonderful things.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, and then one of the subject matter expertise that's on from the Forward Service, Dee said she can drop, and go ahead and drop that link to everyone. That's fine. The message just came directly to me, but we want to make sure we provide as many resources as are available. One of the things that I would recommend that you pay attention to, and we just don't have enough time to delve that deeply into this type of information, in terms of reviewing the vacancy announcement closely. There are some vacancy announcements where it's clear in terms of the actual the actual applicants or applicant pool, if you will, they're trying to reach. So it may have military spouse on there, it may have veterans, it could be a pathways position. Just pay close attention when you're applying for a federal position on USA Jobs, because in some instances, it might be that specific in terms of the area consideration, the particular applicants they're trying to reach. And so basically don't apply for every job, because it might not result in, depending on that, you being considered. What I've heard is a lot of times people feel very put off and discouraged when they're applying for federal positions. And often my question is, what was the actual, area consideration? Did it say that it was open to the public? Did it say it was open to, veterans or military spouses, et cetera? And so just make sure you're paying attention to that. And typically it'll tell you what documents will be required under the how to apply and required documents section of the vacancy announcement.
Hey, Karen, we have Felicia next with her hand up.
Yes, could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. So I am a person of disability, and my husband is retired military, and I'm wondering, is there any volunteer experience within USDA I can apply to get in, to put on my resume to say I have this experience in this job, like volunteer experience?
I'm going to open that up to my colleagues that are on from the other federal agencies. I am aware that occasionally there are opportunities to come in and volunteer, but I think it's based on an actual need. And so, but I don't necessarily know how each of the different agencies handle that. So I will again allow any of them to come off of mute and answer your question. I hope you also aware, if you are a person with a disability, that you can come in through Schedule A hiring authority. That is, so we have the special hiring authority. So we not only have special hiring authorities for veterans and military spouses, but also for persons with disabilities. So you could actually come in and not necessarily have to volunteer, but based on your current experience or education, you can, apply for a particular position and come in through Schedule A if you are qualified for that position. So I'll stop talking and see whether or not any of my colleagues from ARS, Forest Service, Rural Development, or Departmental Administration, APIS, can respond to the volunteer opportunities that may be available in your respective organizations.
Alicia, my name is Neva Brown. I'm here from the U.S. Forest Service. What I can just tell you just off the top of my head, and we will have to do some additional follow-up. Volunteer service agreements are what the U.S. Forest Service uses to offer volunteer opportunities. The U.S. Forest Service, a big part of our mission is the utilization of volunteer programs to help us execute things like campsite, visitor information, even sometimes some additional office assistance. It is often something that we utilize on a regular basis within our agency to allow us to help execute our mission. So there are opportunities. I will agree with what Karen said. They are a little bit more specific, but if you at least drop where you are located, we can at least get you to the right program manager within our Washington office who can help facilitate that for you if you're interested in volunteer. And just like Karen said, we also have qualifications for positions for Schedule A. And the Forest Service does have a Schedule A event coming up in about 2.5 weeks, specifically for hiring of Schedule A employees. So.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So I know you say you have an event coming up in about 2 weeks for the Schedule A people. Is there a way I can get put on the list to receive that email to participate in that event?
Sure, if I can get your email, actually my email address is part of the slide deck. If you can send that to me, then I can definitely make sure that you are included in that. That's a departmental event, but the Forest Service is also in attendance. And then in addition to that, I will utilize that email to again follow up with our volunteer services program manager. So. And then just to let everyone know, this is in addition to that, the Forest Service is actually actively hiring. And tomorrow we have a webinar informational for our hiring event. We will be bringing about 52 positions to hire military spouses. So if you guys are interested, I will be facilitating that event tomorrow at 12. And I encourage everyone. I have dropped the flyer for that, and it does have links in there, but I will also drop that flyer and also the link to the meeting. So if you are interested in your military spouse, we are definitely interested in hiring.
And I'm not sure if my links are live updating. I am dropping links into the chat. If you're able to access the PDF files, over there, you'll see the flyer and as well as the circulating slides with the points of contact that you can save and you can follow up after the fact.
Okay,
Thank
next
you,
guest
Felicia.
is Jean.
Hello.
Hi, Jean.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So my question is, I'm a military spouse. I'm also a reservist in the Air Force here in the DMV area. Me and my wife recently relocated here due to her PCS orders. And I've been applying for positions, even though I consider myself highly qualified. I have an MBA with a concentration in finance. I currently work for the IRS, but my days are kind of numbered there because I'm still attached to the post of duty where we moved from and where my agency is asking for us to come back to the office. So pretty much going to be resigning soon. So my question is that I've been applying and I've attended an event like this with the USDA prior, and I interviewed for a position. Originally, they told me that the position did not require relocation, and then they came back and offered the position and said, "Well, we are going to ask for you to relocate," which was very disappointing for me. So, long story short, I'm still applying. I've been emailing trying to get some assistance as a military spouse and to no avail. So just asking a question to see if there's anything else that can be done to assist.
So I'm not sure which particular agency you applied with. Hopefully you worked with their organization as it relates to the outcome that you described, you experienced. But again, as Nevia mentioned, the Forest Service has 52 positions they're recruiting for, and have an actual hiring event or overview of that upcoming event tomorrow. Hopefully you can join and learn more about that. The only thing I can say is that, the process is the process. I don't know all of the ins and outs in terms of that particular position that you applied for. But again, in those situations, and this is for everyone, you need to work with the Human Resources Department and that particular agency for which you're applying for a position. And if you think that you don't have that desired outcome, there's always an appeal process that you can work through in terms of hopefully getting to a favorable outcome. So I know that we have a lot of positions opening up in the USDA, and especially within the administration side of the house. So please do work with all of the POCs on the slide that was provided today, and reach out to them about opportunities within their respective organizations. I'm sure that they can be helpful to hopefully bringing you on board USDA.
If I may,
Okay.
this is Geraldine from
Mhm.
Agricultural Research Service. I did post something on the chat. We do have a number of non-scientific positions that are remote based. So I would encourage individuals who are looking for that flexibility to just take a look at the positions that are posted on USA Jobs, and they'll clearly say that they're 100% virtual. So for example, in my branch, all my positions are virtual. So there are a significant number of positions that are non-scientific with Agricultural Research Service that might be a good fit.
Thanks for putting that link in the chat to ARS's non-scientific positions. Okay. Help me out, Renee. Who is next?
We have Rashida Pearson next. Oscar to unmute now.
Okay.
Hello, all.
Hi, Rashida.
I have a question. So I recently applied for a position with the U.S. Natural Resource Conservation Services, and it was only open until the first 50 applicants submitted applications. And so I did get through the system finally after years of trying. And so I was just wondering, how long does the application review process take? And if you are considered one of the qualified, will you get an interview, or are you still going through, like shuffling through those qualified to see who you are going to interview in the end?
So great question. Just so you all understand that within each of the mission areas, they have their own human resources divisions. Okay, so there's not one big human resource office, that takes in all the applications here at USDA. It sounds like they capped the number of applicants because they probably expected that there would be a large volume of applicants to that particular position. The next process is that they will review all of the applications that they received for, minimal qualifications to see if you're minimally qualified, and also if it was like for a military spouse, whether or not you're eligible. So there's the whole eligibility factor as well. And then what should happen is that either way, you will be notified through USA Jobs. So if you're both eligible and minimally qualified, you will be notified. If you're not, you will be notified or should be notified. Then that particular list of applicants are sent over to the actual hiring manager, and they will decide who they're interested in interviewing. So it's a process. I admittedly, the hiring process doesn't go as quickly as it ought to with the federal government. And yeah, I said that out loud, but hopefully we'll get better in terms of speeding that up. But you should be notified every step of the way, Rashida, in this process of where you are. And you can always pick up the phone, like I shared with Jean, and call the actual HR POC that's on that vacancy announcement or job opportunity announcement that you applied to see where you are in the process. Or email. I think they either provide a phone number or email. So I hope that helps.
All righty, we're gonna do one last question before we have to reboot and start the presentation over again. And the next person up is Heather Manching. I'm gonna ask you to unmute now.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi, Heather.
I was, well, my question's tailored around more of the scientific positions and specialized positions, which I find to have some limitations when it comes to remote work. I'm actually currently a postdoc, and I do very specific work in plant genetics and plant breeding. And I work very closely with USDA breeding programs across the US. But what I'm finding is if this position were to shift to a more permanent position, I get a lot of questions regarding whether or not my position as a military spouse provides opportunities for like, I guess, hiring opportunities. So what I'm finding is that people aren't really knowledgeable within the USDA of like tailoring certain positions for military spouses in like the really scientific or like specialized departments. And I don't know if it's just the couple of individuals that I've talked to or not. So a couple questions. One is, how do we go about maybe communicating with individuals who may be opening up opportunities to provide those opportunities, or to at least acknowledge that there are specialized hiring opportunities for military spouses, like such as myself, I guess more of a networking thing. And then how do I go about, I guess, finding remote work in the more like higher degree required positions in the USDA?
I can answer that for Agriculture Research Service. So we have Jose Perez also that's online to answer scientific specific questions, but I would encourage you to send an email to us directly so we can match and look at your skill sets. And Jose Perez works in the talent outreach branch in Agriculture Research Service, and he can also connect you with individuals. And I don't know if you'd like to add something to that, but if you contact us directly, we can help you out. And I do agree that there's just a little bit of education that needs to happen amongst actually all of the agencies in terms of the hiring flexibilities, and in particular military spouses. So we can help navigate those conversations. And I don't know if Jose wants to add anything else.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to maybe add, to build a relationship with whomever you're working with. In the breeding program, I know there's a lot of genetics work, and a lot of it can be done remotely, like some of the genomics, some of the sequencing, all that is basically remote. You can do it remotely. So
yeah, my current position as a postdoc is fully remote, and it's like, how do I translate that into what they would be looking for a permanent position?
It would be just building a relationship with that particular location, and just showing that, hey, this work I can still be very productive, even if I'm remote. So we can try them, because a lot of these scientific positions hands-on, you have to be in the lab, but in this case, breeding work can be done remotely. So it's just, I think it's going to be more communication issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, that concludes this session for today. Thank you again for joining us. And if you would like to stay, you're welcome to stay. It's just going to be a repeat in terms of the 20-minute overview, and then we will open it back up again for another 20-minute Q&A. We hope that you found this information helpful, and I hope that you all will show up for the Forest Service webinar tomorrow. And then in another 2 weeks, we're going to have a hiring event. So.
Okay, and this is for all new users. For this afternoon's session, your microphone has been muted upon entry to the meeting. The meeting host will prompt you to activate your microphone to speak during the Q&A session. Please use the chat area to direct questions, comments, remarks to the agency representatives. All of the afternoon sessions will be recorded. Recording links will be emailed to all attendees in the days following today's event. If you have any questions or need assistance, click on this morning's general session Zoom link you used to join us, where help is standing by. Now I'd like to welcome Karen Comfort to provide you with some opening remarks. And I will.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome everyone. As Renee mentioned, I'm Karen Comfort. I'm USDA's Chief Employee Experience Officer. I'm really excited to have you joining us this afternoon, where I will be providing you all with a brief overview of the Department of Agriculture, our particular organizational structure and the positions that we have available or careers that we have available. And then we will have a 20-minute Q&A. So basically, I've kind of talked to you about how this afternoon session will go. I do want to say that USDA is one of the largest federal departments in the federal government, and we have a workforce of 100,000 plus employees. So we're hoping that you will be able to see yourself joining the USDA family at the end of today's presentation. Just so that you all are aware of the different federal military spouse hiring efforts that are underway. In June of last year, President Biden signed an Executive Order 14035, advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal government. And in that particular executive order, the president basically identified several targeted communities, underrepresented communities, where we as the federal government need to increase our hiring efforts and ability to attract that talent, retain those targeted communities, persons in those targeted communities, and advance them. So veterans and military spouses were named in those targeted communities. Also, there's a White House initiative called Joining Forces that works with governments at all levels, local, state, and federal, nonprofit and private sectors, to mitigate challenges and to drive economic opportunities to reduce the military spouse unemployment rate, which is currently approximately at 22%, the highest in the nation, which is pretty disappointing to think about. I am a military spouse. My husband served in the U.S. Marine Corps, and military spouses are among the most highly educated talent that there is. And so USDA is very committed to attracting that talent to our workforce. USDA is a partner with the Department of Defense Military Spouse Employment Partnership, and we are very proud of that. Next. As I mentioned, USDA is a very large federal department. We have 8 what we refer to as mission areas. And we have offices that sit under the office of the secretary, and then we have what we call departmental administration. And so there are a lot of opportunities to find within employment within USDA. Next. I think we have one of the greatest missions in the federal department. USDA is known as the People's Department. It was founded by President Abraham Lincoln, and he named USDA the People's Department. We provide leadership on food, agriculture, natural resources, rural development, nutrition, and related issues based on public policy, the best available science and data, and effective management. Our vision is to provide economic opportunity through innovation, helping rural America to thrive, to promote agricultural production that better nourishes Americans while also helping feed others throughout the world, and to preserve our nation's natural resources through conservation, restored forests, improved watersheds, and healthy private working lands. I really love an expression that is used by our secretary, Secretary Tom Vilsack, that we do touch lives every day in every way. Next slide. As I mentioned, we have 8 USDA mission areas, and we have agencies that sit under our mission areas. We have 29 agencies throughout USDA. Our 8 USDA mission areas are the farm, production, and conservation, food, nutrition, and consumer services, food safety, the marketing and regulatory programs, natural resources and environment, research, education, and economics, rural development, and trade and foreign agricultural affairs. Next slide. So this slide just basically shows the positions that are common throughout USDA. I mentioned that we have 29 agencies. We have several staff offices and departmental administration offices, and you would find these positions within those organizations. Most of them are administrative type positions, such as human resource specialist, equal opportunity positions, budget analyst, budget assistants, public affairs specialists, IT professionals, etc. There are other types of positions that are unique to our respective agencies, such as within the marketing and regulatory program area. The agricultural marketing service has what we call agricultural commodity graders or agricultural commodity technicians. Within the food safety and inspection service, they have meat inspectors. Our natural resource and conservation service have soil scientists. In rural development, they have, and also in the Farm Service Agency, they have loan officers. Can you believe we have loan officers within the USDA? I think it's an amazing and incredible organization because you definitely can find your career path within USDA. Finally, in Forest Service, our largest agency within the department, they have fire technicians and firefighters. And so it's an incredible organization to think about joining, which is why I believe I've been at USDA for as long as I have. Next slide. We also have 2 unique employee organizations. They're run by USDA employees. Our Military Spouse Association is newly formed, and I gotta tell you all, they have hit the ground running. We have Christine Tompkins and we have Bridget D. The 2 of them co-founded this organization, and they both co-lead the organization, which has already 350 plus members, and they meet every month. And they are the actual ones at the helm at organizing this federal wide event today. So really excited to have that type of talent here at USDA. Then we have the Veterans Employee Organization that's been around for quite some time here at USDA. That's 400 plus strong. And they do similar types of things, such as holding career expos, meeting on a monthly basis. We have roundtable discussions with the Office of the Secretary and all of our employee resource groups. I think it's really incredible that our employee resource groups have a direct line to our Office of the Secretary and have been in discussions with either the Secretary or the Deputy Secretary here at USDA to bring up issues that are important to them and help to come up with viable solutions to our most challenging and complex issues here at USDA. Next slide. So when you are applying for a federal position, just some things that you should know. Some of you all probably have already gone through the process and hopefully you have been successful. In the previous session, we've heard of some situations where some individuals have applied and they haven't been very successful. So some of the things and just being involved in the hiring process that I've seen, and I've had the opportunity to do outreach, do actual resume writing workshops on Army installations such as Fort Hood and Fort Campbell, and on many college campuses. You want to make sure that when you're applying for a federal position that you pay close attention to the vacancy announcement on USA Jobs. It will tell you all of the required documents that you would need to submit in order to be considered eligible and qualified for the position. So your marriage certificate, military orders, your spouse's DD 214 are documents you should have readily available and be prepared to submit along with your resume. Now we'll talk about the resume. You should not expect to submit a corporate resume to a federal job. Unlike corporate America, the federal government will not assume that you have the qualifications for the position. That will need to be spelled out in your resume. So you may have a 5-page resume versus that 1-page resume. Within the vacancy announcement, there is a section that we refer to as specialized experience. So it will tell you the specific knowledge, skills, and abilities that the hiring manager is looking for and the ideal and best qualified candidate. So one resume does not fit all. You should make sure that if you do have the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are referred to under the specialized experience section, that should be spelled out in your resume, either as your duties, responsibilities, or accomplishments. Make sure that you complete the assessment section of your application and do not delay in applying for the federal position. The other thing I want to mention is the actual vacancy announcement will let you know the particular candidate pool that the hiring manager is looking to actually have apply for a position. What do I mean by that? You may have positions that are for federal employees only, and they might not be considering military spouses or veterans. So just make sure that you pay attention, close attention to the vacancy announcement, and you're not applying for a position where you're outside of the area of consideration. So with me today, we have some representatives from our mission areas that I mentioned earlier on in my presentation. We have representatives from the Agricultural Research Service, the Forest Service, Departmental Administration, Rural Development, and the Animal, Plant, and Health Inspection Services. Many of those points of contact are listed here on this USDA contacts slide. I'm going to ask if they will turn on their cameras as we get ready to pivot and move into the Q&A session of this particular session. In the very last slide, I want to thank you all for joining us today and for your interest in a career with USDA. It is, in my opinion, one of the best places to work in federal government. And just want to let you know, if you're looking to move to the overviews for other federal departments that have joined the Expo today, you need to make sure you refer to your Career Expo roadmap and the Zoom links to that. And at this particular time, I want to open it up to any questions that you may have about anything that was shared during the overview, or any other questions you may have come prepared to ask today as relates to career opportunities here at USDA.
All righty, we have Kenosha Williams. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
My question is, I have my master's in business, and a lot of times when we are doing our applications, you may not need a master's degree. But because I'm now out of the military, I did 11 years in the military, in the Air Force. I'm now married to Navy. I have my little children, so I, have properties and things like that that I, managed, but now they're kind of like managing themselves. And so I've been running into the issues where I've been told time and time again, hey, you're overqualified. How do I get around that? Because I don't have active employment to prove, the gaps or whatnot. And then I end up, putting in my education for the things that are on my my master's that qualify me for that job. But now it's a master's. It doesn't call for a master's. You don't have to have a master's. So then you go to the interview, you make the first cut, you go to the next one, and then I ask the question, well, why didn't I make it? So I can better myself. And they flat out tells me, hey, you were a great candidate. You were one of our top people. But we just felt that if we allow you to come in and another job opportunity is at your foot, you will take that job. And now we have to start over the process again. So you had two people that were equal, but they don't have the master's, and they most likely would stay. So how do I get around that avenue? Because I have my master's, which have a lot of the things on there for the management side that is needed, but the master's degree isn't required.
Well, I would say that a candidate should be selected based on their qualifications and not anticipation of what they will do. I will say that. So I don't know that your focus should be on getting around that. And I will let my other colleagues that are with me today from our other organizations here at USDA add to what I have just stated, because we shouldn't make those types of conclusions and decisions that we make as it relates to employment. If you're qualified for a position, you're qualified. I'll turn to Sharon, and then anyone else who may have anything they want to add in response to Ms. Williams' question.
Hi, Kenosha. One of the things I would suggest would be maybe looking at opportunities that have a career ladder in them. I'm not sure what grade level that you've been applying to. So maybe look for things that have a career ladder so there's advancement within it. So don't limit yourself in a sense in what you apply for, the grade level. And also when you're talking about having experience, just because it may not have been in a formal job, but if you were managing, outside businesses, other opportunities, make sure to reflect that in your resume. And, don't limit yourself on the grade level you apply for. I don't know if that makes sense or not. If it doesn't, please push back.
Oh, no, it makes complete sense. I was just, I've applied for higher ones. And then, I don't make it because, again, the experience versus another person's experience. So I did want to get my foot in the door and go lower because it wasn't about the money. I wanted to get back. I grew up in the forestry service. Mom, was working there for 35 years. Now she's rural development, a financial analyst. So I know the structure and how things work. But it's just like I keep running to these doors. I make the first every interview, make the second interview, and then they call me back and say, I'm sorry, this is the final one. We end up giving it to somebody else. And I've had like 5 interviews this happened to me with. So I'm like getting a little discouraged. And so maybe I should just stay home and continue my realty stuff, with my own homes. But I want to give back. I want to do more. I have a giving spirit. I just love people and helping people. But it's like I'm starting to get discouraged because I keep hearing this over and over and over again. Like, what am I doing wrong that I can't, get a federal job doing these things? I went to school, I want to use it, and then I don't put it on there, so I'm just kind of running into walls with how to get around it, even though you said I shouldn't try to get around it, but I keep running into brick walls because I've had the time frame where I haven't worked or whatever, but I still was doing my property managing. I mean, anybody got kids can tell you that, hey, we are project managers. We, we go through our kids' toys and we got new schedules for this and things of that nature. So I even made it creative and added in my duties as home as a wife and as a child and wrote that up and made it creative like a project managing. But I just keep running into brick walls and I'm really getting discouraged behind it. So I just came here to see if I can get some.
Hello. Hi, I'm Geraldine. I'm representing Agricultural Research Service, but one of our agencies within USDA is doing quite a bit of hiring on pathways. I posted it in the chat and it's nationwide. I believe they posted yesterday and they're hiring a significant number of positions and that might be something that you might be interested in. So if you see the numbers, there's 385 nationwide. And then they have FSA pathway positions, 164. So that might be a really good path for you, given your master's degree, depending on how long ago that was. But I would certainly encourage you to look at that. And then all of our organizations from time to time post pathway positions. And so I would just not get discouraged and look at those avenues in terms of employment. So hopefully that's helpful. It's in the chat. I posted it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Most definitely in terms of pathways, there is a time requirement in terms of being eligible. I think it's 2 years from, you would have had to graduate 2 years.
Right. It's extended for military, I believe, and military spouses, but
just military.
Oh, okay, just military. Okay.
If the military service precluded them from being employed within the 2 years of graduation.
Right. But that doesn't preclude, well, like I said, I mean, I think there's opportunities out there. It's just continuing to search and do safe searches.
Also, Kenosha, you may want to, and I'm not too sure if you've done this or not, have someone go through the whole interviewing process with you. So that, sometimes what I've personally done is have someone help me with preparing for the interview. That may be actual idea in terms of maybe getting beyond that second round interview. So you might want to think about that if you haven't done that, just, doing a little brainstorming here with you so that you will be successful in actually getting your foot in the door. Okay.
All righty. We don't have a hand up, but we do have a question in the chat from Amberly Gorham. What kind of role would be available to me in the USDA as a former teacher with a master's degree in higher education if I am trying to pivot to project management? I have no formal PM experience, but informally, I have many skills needed.
Well, I will say, and I'm going to open it up to my colleagues, we have training specialists within USDA, all throughout USDA. So
Join the meeting.
uh-oh. Not too sure what happened there. So I would think that, again, I don't know what your all of your skills are, not looking at a resume or any other type of credentials that you have, but we do have training and education specialists all throughout USDA. So I will let someone else from Forest Service, we have a lot of Forest Service representatives on here, chime in. APHIS, Artie, any thoughts?
Thank you, Karen. Hi, this is Neva Brown. I will speak a little bit, but I'll also pass it over to some of my colleagues that have some more experience within human resources. I can say from experience, though, that when you're trying to pivot and transition into another position, at times it could be and come off as a little bit difficult to find your footing, right? So then you want to start based on where you have some known. And Karen, one thing that you brought up that was very key was training specialists. Another area that I think about from just a very baseline thought process is human resources, also grants and agreements, and business operations. Those are areas that agencies are usually always hiring, especially agencies like the Forest Service, that are often seeking people with a diversity of backgrounds and coming to the table to bring in your existing skills that you've drawn from your previous position, coupled with the skills that you're going to obtain and the specificities related to Forest Service processes and USDA processes that will be definitely helpful and pushing people forward and giving you guys the instruments that you need so that you can advance in the agency. Much like what Karen and also Geraldine said, those career ladder positions are often very good ways to come in at a lower level, because sometimes you may not qualify for the GS-11, you may only qualify for the GS-9 or GS-7. Try to think about those career potential positions that will offer you that. And so I'll just stop there, and I can pass it over to some of my colleagues that are on the horn from the Forest Service, either Dee or Sean Tillman, if you guys want to add on to that.
In the interim, I'll jump in and say also that and we realize there are individuals in the group who are currently federal employees as well. So if there are skills that you're wanting to develop, sometimes there are opportunities to do details or to take on, short-term projects to help you flex and develop those other skill sets. So, kind of think outside the box with where you're sitting at now also.
And I would add on to that, Sharon, we're required, if you're already in the federal government, to have individual development plans. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to preclude you once you, even in getting your foot in the door, of expressing an interest in a PMP certification. More and more of that type of skill set is needed within the federal government. And so, again, that's something that can be added to an individual development plan that employees are supposed to develop along with their supervisor's input. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Do we have other questions, Renee?
Yep, we don't have anybody who's raised their hand, but April asked if there are any roles available in IT.
I'll open it up to my colleagues that are from Forest Service, APHIS. Well, I think all of the IT positions are now up at the departmental level. Is that correct? Or does Forest Service, do you all, because each of you all have the associate chief information officers. So, talk about what opportunities you all have available in your respective agencies, please, if you have any.
Sure. And Karen, I'll just say this on behalf of the Forest Service, we do still have in-house, what they call in-house a CIO, computer information. So we do hire IT specialists, and they do a variety of different jobs with us to help support us. Anything that you see that happens in the front end, we cannot do it without the additional back end people who provide assistance from a technical aspect. So with that being said, the Forest Service definitely is actively seeking opportunities for those people. USA Jobs is always a good place to go to identify and locate positions. But specifically, the Forest Service tomorrow will be having an informational for military spouses at 12 o'clock that will outline some of those positions that we have. We don't necessarily have some positions that are available at the current moment. Well, I'll say we don't have that many positions available at the current moment that are in IT, but coming and participating in that information will help us to gain some information from you so that we can contact you, because we have additional upcoming hiring events, and we have even existing open hiring events. So we're always looking for people who can provide not just our natural resource, but the critical infrastructure support that we need to be in the fully operational natural resource agency.
Thank you so much for that response. Anyone have anything to add? Sean?
Yes, Sean Tillman, U.S. Forest Service. I would say in addition to what Neva Brown said, the Forest Service does also offer, our national recruitment team offers one-on-one consults. So you don't have to just do this platform or meet an event if it doesn't fit your schedule. You can go to our website. We'll drop a link in the chat. There's the ability to look at some of the current recruiters and some of the jobs they've been in, so you can get a background on them and see who you want to speak to. And you can schedule one-on-one consults with them to answer general questions, get tips on resumes and things of that nature. So we do offer that and that flexibility to you as spouses, as applicants, and just people in general. So feel free to book a consult anytime to get those additional or more specific questions answered in reference to sometimes just federal employment or just Forest Service employment.
Kenosha, I would recommend you take Forest Service up on that based on, the situation that you shared today. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Sean. It's great to hear that you all do that over at the Forest Service.
All righty, we have another question from Andrew McDougall. Is there an opportunity to transfer jobs in the department or across departments as a spouse if the active duty member receives orders? And if so, would you recommend beginning the application/interviewing process before or after the orders are received? And this is assuming that you do not currently hold the federal position.
Can you repeat that question? It was a lot to unpack in that question. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, so assuming that they're not currently in the federal government, are there opportunities to transfer jobs within departments, agencies, or across departments as a spouse if the active duty member is receiving orders? If so, would you recommend beginning the application/interviewing process before or after orders are received?
Okay, I'm going to let someone else answer that.
Let me see if I can get Andrew. Were you willing to unmute here? There we go.
I'm sorry, I'm actually Samantha.
Oh.
For some reason it's my husband's name. So yeah, I guess I was just wondering, I don't currently have a government job, but I'm interested. So I was curious, if say I want to, apply for jobs. I believe earlier they said, if you think you're going to move within 6 months, don't apply. So I was just wondering, maybe if you had any insight on when the best time to start looking for jobs would be, if you might be anticipating orders.
Well, I would say maybe there should have been a caveat to that information. If the position is remote, that shouldn't be an issue, right? Because it's remote, meaning you can work anywhere. So I would make sure, one, when you're applying for positions, you should probably, if you're in a situation where you may get these orders to move around, look for federal for federal jobs that have a remote duty station. Okay. So I would say, there's no need to wait in that particular instance. Again, that particular position has been determined that the employee can work anywhere in any location. So that's one thing. But in terms of being able to transfer across departments, if you so happen to apply for a job where there is a designated duty station, it's only like telework eligible, or you must report to the actual work site because it's a frontline worker type of position, then it depends. It's not automatic. So I would just say that it depends on what, other opportunities may be available across other departments, and whether there are openings, whether you're determined to be minimally qualified or eligible for the position. There are a lot of variables. It's not straightforward. And anybody have anything to add from the other agencies, please do. Okay.
All right, we're going to do one more question before we reboot here and do our remarks. Let's do. This is from Kelly Owens. I am a current GS-12 working in public affairs, and I currently applied for a PA role within the Forest Service. Is there a turnaround time for updates?
So I think this kind of came up before in our previous session. There are a whole lot of different factors. For example, the number of applications that were submitted for the position, and HR going through those to determine, who's minimally qualified, eligible, and then who would go on the certificate to the hiring official. What I also said in the previous session was every step of the way, you should be getting some type of notification. For example, if you are among the, minimally qualified, you should be notified of that. If you're among the best qualified, you should be getting some notification through USA Jobs as it relates to that position. You can always reach out to the HR point of contact on the vacancy announcement. Typically, there's a phone number and there's an email. And to get some additional information in terms of how they're progressing with that particular position. And yes, can you put information about the Forest Service webinar tomorrow? I believe that was, it's already in there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that should be in the chat for everyone. And I think that was our last question for this afternoon. I want to thank you all again for joining and for asking the questions that you had. It may have been a question that someone else had that was in this particular overview. And then do reach out to the USDA points of contact that were put on the slide today for additional information. We want to be a resource to you, and most importantly, we would love to see you be a part of the USDA family. Thank you all again for joining, and we do hope that you will reach out and take advantage of all the resources that were shared with you today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
All right. You all set, Karen?
All set.
All right. My name is Renee Carranza with USDA's Agriculture Marketing Service. For this afternoon's session, your microphone has been muted upon entry to the meeting. The meeting host will prompt you to activate your microphone to speak during the Q&A session. Please use the chat area to direct questions, comments, remarks to the agency's representatives. All the afternoon sessions will be recorded. Recording links will be emailed to all attendees in the days following today's event. PDF files of today's presentations will also be emailed as the federal agencies provide them. If you have any questions or need assistance, click on this morning's general session Zoom link you used to join, where help is standing by. And I would like to welcome Karen Comfort to provide you some opening remarks for this meeting.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Karen Comfort, and I am USDA's Chief Employee Experience Officer. And welcome to this afternoon session where you will receive an overview of USDA and our opportunities that we have available for you to join the USDA family. Thank you again for joining, and we are going to get ready to begin our session. Next slide. So while you are with us this afternoon, I will be providing a 20-minute overview of USDA, our organizational structure, and our opportunities that we have that cut across all of our organizations within USDA. And then we will have a 20-minute Q&A. So hopefully you have some questions that we can answer for you this afternoon. So the first thing I want to share is about all of the hiring efforts that are currently underway for federal military spouses. In the summer of 2021, President Biden signed an Executive Order 14035, advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce. And within that executive order, President Biden actually outlined targeted communities where he wanted the federal government to focus on increasing representation, and not just representation, but retention and advancement. One of those targeted groups, or two of those targeted groups rather, were veterans and military spouses. There are also other initiatives that are underway that focuses on hiring of federal military spouses. That's the White House initiative, Joining Forces, that works with governments at all levels, such as local, state, and federal, nonprofit organizations, and private sectors to mitigate challenges and drive economic opportunities to reduce the military spouse unemployment rate, which currently sits at 22%, the highest in the nation. USDA is a partner with the Department of Defense Military Spouse Employment Partnership, and we're very proud of that. So USDA is one of the largest federal departments across the federal government. We have a workforce of over 100,000 employees that are located all across the United States and also overseas in about 4,500 locations. And so, of course, we have the Secretary of Agriculture and the Deputy Secretary that lead out our organization. And underneath them are what we call staff offices and departmental administration offices. And then we have 8 mission areas, which I'll talk about shortly. And within those mission areas are 28 agencies in total. I think that USDA has one of the best missions across the federal government. USDA was founded by or established by President Abraham Lincoln. And at the time, he referred to USDA as the People's Department. And we continue to refer to ourselves as the People's Department. We provide leadership on food, agriculture, natural resources, rural development, nutrition, and related issues based on public policy, the best available science and data, and effective management. Our vision is to provide economic opportunity through innovation, helping rural America to thrive, to promote agricultural production that better nourishes Americans while also helping feed others all across the world, to preserve our nation's natural resources through conservation, restored forests, improved watersheds, and healthy private working lands. As I mentioned, we have what we refer to as mission areas, 8 in total. Our mission areas are the farm, production and conservation, food, nutrition and consumer services, food safety, marketing and regulatory programs, natural resources and environment, research, education and economics, rural development, and the trade and foreign agricultural affairs. And underneath each of these mission areas, as I stated, are specific agencies that focuses on fulfilling our mission and our vision as a department. So I mentioned that we are 100,000 plus strong, which means that we have a really wide, broad swath of career opportunities here at USDA. We have what we refer to as common positions that cut across our staff offices, our departmental administration offices, and our mission area and agencies. So we have a list of those common positions that are found in those organizations here. And they're primarily on the administration side, such as human resources specialists, IT specialists, budget analysts, investigators, equal opportunity positions, etc. But we do have some particular positions that are unique to our agencies and mission areas within USDA. For example, within the marketing and regulatory program area, we have the agricultural marketing service. It's the only in USDA that has what we refer to as agricultural commodity graders and technicians. Within the food safety mission area, we only have one agency that sits under there called the Food Safety and Inspection Service. They have meat inspectors. They're the only agency at USDA that has meat inspectors. Within the Forest Service, we have fire technicians and firefighters. Only agency within USDA that has that particular position. So I think you guys kind of get that. Again, these are common positions we have listed on this slide that cuts across all of our different agencies and offices within USDA. At USDA, we're really proud that we have two organizations that focus on our veterans and military spouses. They are led by USDA employees. Our Military Spouse Association is our newest employee resource group. And let me tell you, they have hit the ground running. That particular organization was founded by Christine Tompkins and Bridget D. They both are on this session this afternoon. That particular organization is already over 250 strong in terms of our membership, and they meet on a monthly basis. And actually, they organized today's Federal Interagency Military Spouse Association Career Expo. So we are really proud to have that type of talent here at USDA. We also have our Veterans Employee Organization that has been around for quite some time as an employee resource group here at USDA. They are 400 plus strong in terms of members. They meet every month. They also hold career expos. They had one not long ago. And we do other things such as flash mentoring. We hold roundtable discussions with the Office of the Secretary. We are really proud that our employee resource groups have a direct line of communication to our Office of the Secretary. Those roundtable discussions are held with either the Secretary of Agriculture or our Deputy Secretary. So we really are doing some I would say, great things here at USDA to uplift the voices of our underrepresented groups here at USDA. And we think of them as partners in solving problems and coming up with solutions with some of the challenges that we have here at USDA. Next. So some things that we wanted to share with you all that may be applying for the first time or maybe multiple times for opportunities with the federal government. And hopefully you're thinking of applying for a career here at USDA. You need to make sure that you have your military spouse documents readily available and submitted when you're applying for a federal job. That would be your marriage certificate, your military orders, your spouse's DD-214. We strongly recommend that when you're applying for a job with the federal government, you pay attention to the vacancy announcement that's posted on USA Jobs. It will let you know the specific documents that are required to submit when you're applying for the position. If you don't submit those documents, you will be disqualified it's likely you'll be disqualified. And so please make sure that you pay attention to the vacancy announcement. The other thing we wanted to point out is that when you apply for a federal job, the corporate resume, most likely, that one-page corporate resume most likely will not work. In the federal government, there's no assumptions that are made that you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are required for the position. That must be spelled out in your resume, which means that a resume could be 5 pages. I've seen some that are a bit longer. And so what's most important is that you pay attention to what we refer to as the specialized experience on the vacancy announcement. The specialized experience will let you know the knowledge, skills, and abilities that's needed to perform the job and that the hiring official is looking for in the ideal candidate. So make sure that when you are completing your resume or preparing your resume, that you include the knowledge, skills, and abilities that address the specialized experience outlined in that vacancy announcement. Make sure that you complete the assessment that typically is included in the vacancy announcement and application process. Do not delay. If you see that the closing date is far off, utilize all that time in order to put together the best possible resume and package that you can to successfully compete for that job opportunity. So I'm really happy that this afternoon we have several representatives from our mission areas and agencies and departmental administration that are here with me, from the Agricultural Research Service, from Departmental Administration, Forest Service, the Animal, Plant, and Health Inspection Service, and Rural Development. Their names are here on the slide. Please feel free to reach out to them if you should have any additional questions that are not answered during this afternoon's Q&A session, which we're going to get ready to pivot to. So I'm going to ask if they turn on their camera so that you can see who they are. Thank you again for joining us. This concludes the overview portion of USDA's Career Expo session. Again, like I said, we're going to get ready to move into our 20-minute Q&A. Please stay and ask any questions that you have. There are other overviews by the other federal departments that have joined us today. If you're interested in participating in those particular overviews, please go to your Career Expo map where you can join them via the Zoom link for their specific session. So at this particular point in time, I want to open up the session to any questions you may have. You can either unmute yourself, raise your hand, Renee will call on you, or you can put your questions in the chat. No questions? Well, I think some of my colleagues have a few announcements about some things that are happening. Probably it's in the chat, but Forest Service, do you want to talk about tomorrow's webinar? I'll give you the floor to talk about that.
We have one question here. Do you want to wait till after Forest Service?
Yeah, let's wait to take that question after Forest Service. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Hi, everyone. My name is Neva Brown. I'm part of the national hiring team here at the U.S. Forest Service out of our DC office. And tomorrow, what we will be having is an informational and hiring event. It's a virtual hiring event specifically for military spouses. So we are interested in hiring you. We have about 52 positions from across the U.S. that will be available. It will be a 1-hour webinar tomorrow, October the 13th at 12 o'clock. I will drop the flyer within our chat, and you can also email me if you need additional information. There are 4 other Forest Service employees that are also here: Sean Tillman, Jason Gaffney. The Dope Hair and Jean Birdsong, who are also available and will be attending our event tomorrow to provide assistance. Thank you, Karen, and passing it over to you, Savannah.
Hello. I came in a little bit late. I apologize. I was caught up networking, you know how it is. I think I'll stay for the next session, but the main question that I've been focused on today is what is the initiative to integrate support for mental health within your staff?
That's a great question. So at USDA, we just stood up a USDA Employee Health and Wellness Council. And that council consists of representatives from each of our mission areas. So during my presentation, Savannah, I shared that within USDA, we have 8 mission areas, 29 agencies. So each of our mission areas are represented on that council, along with representatives from our departmental and staff offices. And we are focusing on physical, emotional, and mental health, looking at our current policies and programs that exist within each of our mission areas and agencies, updating our current departmental policy, looking at our contractual agreements that we have, such as with federal occupational health, and looking at the services that are currently offered underneath those contractual arrangements and agreements. And we're looking at actually implementing some new services and program areas, putting the employees in the center as we're looking at establishing some additional programs and services to understand what their needs are, and how best to address some of the challenges that have come about as a result of the actual pandemic and other external factors that are impacting our employees' well-being. So that is what we're doing. It's a fairly new council, but we're very excited. And we are expecting for some really great things to come out from that council that we can implement across the department for our workforce.
Great. Are there any open positions available on that council?
So those for the council, it's for current USDA employees.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and those particular positions are basically, I would say the nominations for those positions come through our USDA leadership.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that, because I, like you said, there are a lot of different, I forgot the word you used, but like subsidiaries of the
mission areas?
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so would you say that each department has its own team that kind of handles the mental health services, like spreading out that information across their team? Or is that more focused, like HR takes care of that?
So each of the mission areas have individuals, they may be in HR or other areas that focus on employee health and well-being. And
Okay.
so they make sure that within their particular mission area or agency, they share their resources that are available to their employees. And then USDA at large has a framework for our wellness programs, is what we refer to them as. And as I mentioned, we are actually just kind of taking an internal assessment to make sure that our framework, our programs and services and policies meet our current, I would say, health and wellness challenges that exist, and whether we need to be updating them, providing new programs and services based on employees' needs currently.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I apologize for being late, but I'll just hang out here in the background, let other people ask some questions.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, Karen, is it okay if I just add on a little bit more information from the Forest Service perspective? So the Forest Service recently in about 2018 started our work performance and improvement office. And we did unfortunately lose our leader to USDA, Leslie Walden. But we have been really focusing from the agency's perspective over the last 3 to 4 years on improving the overall health and wellness of our employees, considering not just the pandemic, but just as things within our lives every day outside of work have been transitioning and changing. Some of the other things that we have done even more recently is revamp our entire employee assistance program to better ascertain and connect employees with the resources that they need in a timely manner. So I'm putting that little tidbit out there, but USDA, along with the Forest Service, is really committed and taking some really big strides in trying to help to reorganize ourselves to best meet our changing environment, because we all know that people are coming to work with differently than what they probably have had when we first started, or when I first started in the agency. Do your work and sit in the background. And now people say, no, there are things that affect the way you show up. It's not mean that you're not a great worker, but how do we be considerate about all those other things? And we want to make sure that we're being attentive to that in our evolving workforce. And as we are trying to tap into even a more forward-thinking workforce.
Thanks for sharing that. I have a question. So how are you all enjoying the Expo? Anybody can answer. I mean, it doesn't mean that the Q&A session doesn't mean that the questions are just coming from the attendees. We can ask questions too, so that we can learn. Those of us that are here from USDA. Really enjoying it, very informative. I love it. Awesome. Yes. Well-being is very important, and we definitely are taking it very seriously here at USDA so that we can support our employees and helping them to make sure that they can show up and be as productive as they possibly can be. Okay, Savannah, we'll take another question from you.
This may have been answered in the presentation, so I'm sorry.
No problem.
So let me just introduce myself. I am a graduate student at Fayetteville State University. In December, I will have obtained my master's degree in sociology. I presently have more education than experience on the corporate side or government side. However, I do have some volunteer experience, just not in anything to do with agriculture. That being said, I was wondering what entry levels what entry level positions do you currently have available? And if they are entry level, are those offered remotely?
So one of the things I mentioned in my presentation is that USDA is like a very large department, 100,000 plus. And so I don't know about all of the different entry-level positions that we have available, but I do have several of my colleagues that are with me that I named, and they're from the Agricultural Research Service, Forest Service, Rural Development, Departmental Administration, and the Animal, Plant, and Health Inspection Service. So they may be able to answer your question about entry-level positions that currently are open. I remember my colleague from the Agricultural Research Service saying that they have several pathways positions that are opening up and available. Those tend to be entry-level positions. So I will let them unmute themselves and answer your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, so we do from time to time, this is Geraldine with the Agricultural Research Service, do post positions, as she mentioned, with pathways. But one of the agencies within USDA that has posted a large number of pathways vacancies is NRCS, and we are required to post all pathway positions on USA Jobs. So I would encourage you to create a profile and a safe search and go in there and search all of the USDA agencies, because there are a large number of opportunities that are wide ranging from entry level to mid-level to advanced. So that's what I would encourage you to do if you have not done so already. We also contract with third-party organizations to offer internships, which some may lead to permanent employment, some do not, but you gain valuable experience. So hopefully that addresses your question.
Thank you. It does. To my understanding, though, the Pathways program is sort of like a co-op or an internship. Is that correct, or is it that
Yes,
the recent graduates?
Yeah,
There's
pathways,
also a section
right,
for recent
right.
graduates,
Yes,
so I'll take that
pathways.
if you're okay, Jill.
Yes, and just, yeah, there's two parts of the pathways. One is for current interns and one is for recent grads. So I'll pass it over to you.
Right. So recent graduates are for people who are will have graduated within the last 2 years. And it can be anything from a bachelor's to a master's to a PhD. It's going to depend upon the actual job announcement. As Sherilyn said, I would encourage you to start your search now, because there are some times when a position will accept applications from someone who is within 9 months of graduating. So again, it's going to depend upon that specific job announcement. And you can grade level, series, all types of things.
Right.
And there's also a new hiring authority that's called the College Graduate Hiring Authority. So I'd also search on that. And on USA Jobs, there is a hiring path that is for students and recent graduates. So start there, see what seems open. Another thing I would suggest is searching on the series, like sociologists or what have you. Get an idea of the types of specialized experience that they're looking for. So even though it may not be with the agency that you're looking to be hired on, it gives you an opportunity to look to see what should be in your resume and what you may be looking for. And the specific job will determine whether or not it's a remote opportunity, one with maximum telework, what have you, because our determinations are based on the actual position. And you can also—
Another thing you might want to tell her about is, you said you're graduating with a master's?
Yes,
you have a lot of experience.
Less than 60 days.
So there's Sharon, you might want to share about the Presidential Management Fellows under—
It closed.
It closed already?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check.
So recently I had the opportunity to attend the Thurgood Marshall College Fund Leadership Institute, and there were representatives from USDA APHIS and USDA NRCS there. And I did connect with both of them, love them. They were fantastic people. However, my, not issue, but main part of that conference was that it was directed towards undergraduate students looking for internships and fellowships and so on and so forth. However, with my situation, I likely am not going to qualify for any internships at this point, because I will not be furthering my education once I get my master's degree as of right now. That might change, but as of right now, that's not what I'm looking to do. So I am looking more towards the recent graduate hiring initiative. Is USA Jobs the only way to apply for positions within the USDA?
That's under Pathways Recent Graduates. It's a requirement for public notice, and all jobs must be advertised on USA Jobs.
And President Management Fellows is not an internship program. It actually is for individuals that have advanced degrees and experience, but that's run by OPM, and that's typically posted on USA Jobs as well.
My bad, my bad. I assumed, because I heard the word fellows, that it was a fellowship.
No,
I apologize.
I just wanted to make sure I clarified that for you.
Thank you.
Okay. I think too, and I don't want to speak for every one of the actual agencies, but I know most have career pages, Savannah. So I would, go to usda.gov. There's a list of each of the agencies and mission areas underneath the department. And then if you click on their actual, the link to their agency, for example, I know for sure that the Agricultural Marketing Service has a career page. And so if there are other opportunities, like, there could be an announcement for opportunities for veterans where they're just kind of using the special hiring authority, because every single position within the federal government does not necessarily need to be on USA Jobs, which is one of your questions. But if they're hiring through a special hiring authority, there may be other ways to find out about those positions.
And just, I wanted to comment also, because we've had people talk about if they're trying to qualify based specifically on education. There's also resources on USA Jobs where it is federal jobs by major, so that you can search on your major and it will give you suggestions for job series that you may want to look at. So, and I know sometimes USA Jobs and the whole series thing can be a little intimidating, but there's some good resources on there also.
And I just wanted to kind of follow on that, Karen. You had mentioned that they can go to the websites, all of that. And while you're here, be sure to also download the links that were dropped into the chat for your points of contact today. You can easily follow up via email if you'd like to reach out to anyone and just see if they have anything that's more directly available.
Of course, thank you, thank you. Yeah, the problem with, or I guess not really the problem, because sociology is a great field, but the problem that I'm facing is that it's so generalized. So whereas, with a nurse degree or a law degree, you can type in lawyer and thousands of jobs will pop up. But for sociology, you can't type in sociology and just be a sociologist. You have to do something within a humanities or social sciences field with my degree. And so there is so much that I can do, but so little that I am directly qualified to or have a direct career path. So yeah, that's just a little tidbit.
Any other questions?
We have a question in the chat from Granetta. Are there any agencies with urgent need or hard fills?
I'll open it up to the agencies that are on with me this afternoon. I know some of you all have hiring surges going on, so.
Well, I'll just say the Forest Service has definitely this year, I think we've been on a marathon sprint into hiring services since the beginning, filling in several different positions that we have been looking for. And hard to fill positions, I will probably say some of the hard to fill is related to location. And then there are some areas where we have been expanding, learning more about what we really need. Even when I think about your position, Savannah, being a social scientist, I know our research areas are looking to expand more social scientists. Even our civil rights is starting to hire social scientists and looking for social scientists, because we want to learn more about how do we use our data matrices to better understand how to service our employees and also service the public that we interact with. So I know that at first glance, it can seem as if, there isn't a job that I can specifically look at. I would say, start looking at some of these more broader areas. It's so funny that this common positions, 301 series, 201, 203 series, it takes a little bit of extra effort to look at what the job is, but sometimes you can align the job with what your skills are and the skills that you're seeking. So those are going to be two good nexuses to kind of help charter through that. But as far as needing positions for the Forest Service, it's open arms, and we are out here actively seeking, recruiting really good talent to help move our agency and our workforce in the right direction for the future.
Thank you for answering that.
We have a question in the chat from Tiffany Buchanan. Is there any bias for military spouses that are only seeking remote opportunities? And is the unwillingness to work on site looked down upon?
Oh, absolutely not. We determine whether a position is available for remote work based on the duties and the responsibilities, and whether those are portable, can be performed any place other than on the work site. And, you know, the federal government is looking at workforce, workplace flexibilities. We're really excited about the opportunity to be able to offer remote work over the past 2 years, or over 2 years now that we've been in this pandemic. Those employees that are able to work remotely have demonstrated that we're able to get the job done. Now, again, there are some positions that have to be done at the actual location. For example, a meat inspector has to be in a plant in order to inspect the meat. An agricultural grader has to be actually at a terminal market, a shipping point, a grain elevator, in order to be able to inspect that particular commodity for quality, condition, etc. Fire technicians have to be where the fire is. So there are some positions that, again, you have to be on site in order to perform the duties and responsibilities. But in terms of the determination of whether or not a position is, can be remote or not, is based on the duties and responsibilities. And certainly there is no bias in terms of a particular applicant looking for a remote opportunity. Absolutely not.
Hello, my name is Renee Carranza with USDA Public Affairs. For this afternoon session, your microphone has been muted upon entry to the meeting. The meeting host will prompt you to activate your microphone to speak during the Q&A session. Please use the chat area to direct questions, comments, remarks to the agency's representatives. All the afternoon sessions will be recorded. Recording links will be emailed to all attendees in the days following today's event. PDF files of today's presentations will also be emailed as the federal agencies provide them. If you have any questions or need assistance, click on this morning's general session Zoom link you used to join us, where help is standing by. Now I would like to welcome our Chief Employment Executive Officer, Karen Comfort, to provide you some opening remarks for this meeting session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining. As Renee said, I am Karen Comfort, USDA's Chief Employee Experience Officer. We are so happy that you have joined us this afternoon for our overview of USDA and our opportunities. And so we will go ahead and get started on what you should expect this afternoon. Next slide. So during our time together, I'm going to provide a 20-minute overview of the USDA organization, and again, talk about some general opportunities that we have here and some of our employee organizations. Following my presentation, there will be a 20-minute Q&A. I hope that you have come prepared with questions. I have several of my colleagues that I'll mention towards the end of my presentation this afternoon that have joined me, and we all stand ready to answer any questions that you may have. So there has been quite a bit of focus on hiring for federal military spouses. In the summer of 2021, President Biden signed Executive Order 14035, advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce. Within that particular executive order, President Biden identified various communities, specifically underrepresented, underserved communities, that he wants to target in terms of increasing opportunities for federal employment, retention, and advancement. Among those targeted communities were veterans and military spouses. There are also other initiatives that focus on increasing hiring of federal military spouses, one of which is the White House Joining Forces Initiative, which works with governments at all levels, local, state, and federal, nonprofit and private sectors to mitigate challenges and drive economic opportunities to reduce military spouse unemployment rate, which is approximately 22%, the highest in the nation. USDA is a proud partner with the Department of Defense for the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. USDA is one of the largest federal departments across the federal government. We have a workforce of over 100,000 employees located all across the United States and overseas. We have employees in about 4,500 locations, and we have several different organizations within USDA. Of course, we have our Office of the Secretary, where we have the Secretary of Agriculture and the Deputy Secretary. Underneath those offices are staff offices and departmental offices. And then we have 8 mission areas, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But within those mission areas are a total of 29 USDA agencies that carry out our very important mission in the vision of USDA. Next slide. So the USDA was established or created rather by President Abraham Lincoln. And at the time he referred to USDA as the People's Department. And we continue to refer to ourselves as the People's Department. And our mission is to provide leadership on food, agricultural, and natural resources, rural development, nutrition, and related issues based on public policy, the best available science and data, and effective management. Our vision is to provide economic opportunity through innovation, helping rural America to thrive, to promote agricultural production that better nourishes Americans while also helping feeding others all throughout the world, to preserve our nation's natural resources through conservation, restored forests, improved watersheds, and healthy private working lands. And I mentioned that we have 8 mission areas. Our mission areas at USDA are the farm, production and conservation, food, nutrition and consumer services, food safety, marketing and regulatory programs, the natural resources and environment, research, education and economics, rural development, and the trade and foreign agricultural affairs. So again, we have a workforce that's over 100,000 strong. And within that workforce, we have a really broad swath of career opportunities here at USDA. On this slide, we just have a list of common positions that cut across our staff offices, our departmental offices, missionaries, and agencies. Most of these positions are administration type of positions, such as human resource specialists, equal opportunity positions, budget analysts, and budget assistants and technicians. We have IT positions. We also have positions that fall in inspection and investigations, enforcement, and compliance. But then we have more what I would refer to as specialized positions, such as our soil conservationists that are in our natural resource and conservation service. Within the food safety and inspection service, we have meat inspectors. Within the agricultural marketing service, we have agricultural commodity graders and technicians. Believe it or not, within our rural development and farm service agency, we have loan specialists. So we have a lot of opportunities at USDA. It's not just based on a bunch of individuals that have degrees in agriculture or even experience in farming. I think that any type of position that you can think of may exist within the USDA, which I think makes it one of the most neat departments to work for. And I think that's the reason why I've worked with USDA for as long as I have. Next slide. Also at USDA, we have two unique employee organizations that are run by USDA employees to support military spouses and veterans. We have our fairly newly established Military Spouse Association, and the co-founders of this organization are with us this afternoon, Christine Tompkins and Bridget D. They both co-lead this Military Spouse Association already. The Military Spouse Association is 350 plus members strong. They meet once a month, and really excited to say that they are at the helm of organizing the very first Federal Interagency Military Spouse Career Expo that you all are enjoying and benefiting from today. Really proud to have this type of talent here at USDA. We also have the Veterans Employee Organization. That particular organization has been at USDA for quite some time and has a membership of 400 plus veterans from all branches of service. They meet once a month, and they also hold special events, recruitment events, job fairs, flash mentoring. One of the things I'm very proud to be involved in here at USDA is organizing roundtable discussions with the Office of the Secretary and our employee resource groups. Our employee resource groups have a direct line of communication through those roundtable discussions with the Secretary of Agriculture and the Deputy Secretary that are involved in those roundtable discussions. It's an opportunity to lift up the voices of our employees, to hear about some of the things that they view as challenges within our department, and to partner in identifying solutions to those challenges. So we are doing some really great things here at the department in this particular space. So I just want to share some things that you all should consider when you apply for federal position. And some of you may already be within the federal government. I think this information is still very important for you to keep in mind as you may look to apply for another federal position. Hopefully you're applying for those positions within USDA or at USDA. But some important documents for you to have at the ready are your marriage certificate, your spouse's DD-214, and your military orders. Also, in speaking about the federal resume, it is not the same as the corporate one-pager. As a matter of fact, if you submit a corporate one-pager, I can just about guarantee you probably would not be in the running in terms of the best qualified. With the federal government, we're not going to make an assumption that you have the necessary knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform the job. And so you want to make sure when you are reviewing that vacancy announcement on USA Jobs, you pay particular attention to the specialized experience that is required for the position. That specialized experience has been identified by the hiring official in partnership with the human resources specialists, and is definitely going to identify the top best qualified candidates that speak to having the requisite knowledge, skills, ability, education, etc., to perform the job. Also, please make sure that you complete the assessment that goes along with the application process. Do not delay in applying for your the particular position you're interested in. If the vacancy announcement closes and it's maybe a week or so from now, I would say start working on your resume now. One resume does not fit all. So please do make sure that your resume is tailored to speak to your knowledge, skills, and abilities that would sufficiently address the specialized experience. The other thing I want to just, before we move on from this slide, just please do pay attention to the vacancy announcement and the those that would be eligible to apply for the position that is being advertised. A lot of times by being able to go out myself and participate in recruitment events, either on college campuses or on military installations such as Fort Hood and Fort Campbell, I've learned that oftentimes potential candidates are applying for positions that they wouldn't qualify for based on the area of consideration, if you will, or the actual eligible potential candidates that should be applying for those positions. So if you have any questions about the actual vacancy announcement, how to read it, how to understand it, one of the slides that we have here has a list of USDA contacts, and please feel free to reach out to them. Next slide. Oh, there you go. So I'm really excited that I have with me today some of our representatives throughout USDA. We have representatives from the Agricultural Research Service, Departmental Administration, Forest Service, Rural Development, the Animal, Plant, and Health Inspection Service. And before we move into our Q&A portion of this afternoon session, I would ask that they turn on their cameras so that they will help me in answering any questions that you have this afternoon. Again, they are listed on the slide. The slides will be put in the chat so that you can refer back to them. I want to thank you for joining this afternoon's session. And I want to go ahead and open it up for any questions that you may have for us this afternoon. I also see, I think for the first time, I don't think that he was with us, but we do have our acting military Veterans Agricultural liaison with us, Manchi Ramdas, and he does more focusing on working with military veterans. I would suspect spouses too that may be interested in actual agricultural careers that are outside of USDA. So, things like agribusiness and actually starting, farming or becoming a new rancher, etc. So Manchi, did you want to say hello and introduce yourself since you're with us this afternoon?
Hi, Karen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yes, you're coming through. I can see you. I can hear you just fine.
I'm sorry. Thank you for the introduction and the great session that you're running. I listened in to some of the Q&A from the last session, and really great information being put out to military spouses. And like Karen said, I'm Manchi Ramdas. I go by Ram at USDA. And I work in the Military Veteran Agriculture Liaison Office. And basically we conduct outreach. And when we outreach to veterans, transitioning service members, and military spouses, we share educational opportunities, internship, those type of things, apprenticeship programs, the different programs that you heard about through Pathways, recent graduates, graduate program or current students, etc., the PMF program. We also have a lot of scholarships and different type of programs, fellowship programs that we have to offer. But in addition to that, we encourage veterans, transitioning service member and military spouses to get into business, and more importantly, beginning ranching and farming. So, when you look at USDA, we offer more than just employment. We pretty much have opportunities for a vet when they get out transitioning service members as they're preparing to go, and of course, military spouses and their families. So at USDA, we pretty much have something for the entire military family. And we want to better communicate that to you through outreach. And part of the MVAL mission is to make you aware of those things. We don't necessarily hire anyone. We don't have jobs to fill. However, we'll share those jobs with you when they come open. And we get, you know, we assist agencies, many of the agencies that are on with you right now. For example, APHIS, the Forest Service, Rural Development, AMS, ARS. You hear all these acronyms. They have openings. For example, the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, they have a office position open in Raleigh, North Carolina. You know, I could share that with Christine, that can blast it out to all the military spouses that registered for this. And we also have another opening in Oregon. We have opening in different part of the country in Colorado that they're looking to hire either to fill those positions. And because they're across the country, you know, we'll get it out to you. And usually what I do, Karen talked about the Veteran Employee Organization and the Military Spouse Association. I share the openings with them, and they get it out, you know, to the different communities. So we work together hand in hand with HR, Karen, and Sharon. And Karen and I go a long way back, since 2010 at least. And we work on, you know, the things that we're talking about now. Veterans, military spouses, transitioning servicemen. So, you know, my information is available. I would ask Christine, please, you could share my email or share our links to vets at USDA. We will go through our website again and bring it up to date. It's some things that we're focusing on in the new fiscal year to, you know, to make improvements as we move forward and to create some great partnerships with new and emerging offices and initiatives at USDA. So Karen, I thank you, and Sharon, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining. I didn't realize you were in the last session. So anyway, just wanted to give you.
I was listening in.
Okay, give you opportunity to talk about other ways in which we assist veterans transitioning military personnel and military spouses.
Gotcha.
Renee, any questions?
No, no hands up and nothing in the chat box.
So I asked this question at the last session. How are you all enjoying the Expo? Are you getting, has it been helpful? Are you getting really useful information? Okay. Hopefully.
They're expoed out. Hopefully that means they're all busy getting jobs today and filling out those applications. So they're feverishly typing and they can't ask questions. I just wanted to pop on really fast just to say hi. Ram just spoke, and Ram is actually the reason that I am employed here at the USDA. So I would just say this is living proof. I started out on the other side of the screen on a different career fair, and now here I am presenting to you all. So it just goes to show that the networking is critical. All of the paths that we're trying to lead spouses down here now are they're existing paths, but it's critical to have someone who's there to help guide you and take you by the hand. If you have that, I mean, I just think that the outcome is very different. So do definitely take the time to download the slides that have been dropped in the chat today, reach out via email, connect with people that you've met today on LinkedIn, do everything you can to forge those connections, because you never know when it's going to circle back and you'll have an opportunity that you never dreamed of. That's all I have to say. And I really just appreciate everybody attending today. Thank you all for your time. It's been incredible for me, and I hope it has been for you as well.
Thank you, Bridget. Christine, did you have anything that you would like to come on and share and say?
Yes, absolutely. I just think that these presentations today have been so fantastic. I took the opportunity to kind of explore some of the other agencies during this Career Expo session. I think just by far USDA did a fantastic job with the presentations, and spouses, you are getting such awesome information here today. Just like Bridget, I am a military spouse, and I also was able to secure a position within USDA with Manchi Ramdas, and through networking. It is really important to keep in touch with people that you're meeting along the way that do offer help and support. And today is the exact opportunity. The reason that Bridget and I really felt like this event today would be an outstanding event is because we are giving you that direct access to meet with these HR people and network with them. Whether you get a job today or tomorrow, don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen right away. It took me many years, and part of that could have been that I was just applying the wrong way and I didn't follow the directions that OPM had talked about this morning. But don't give up on your application process. Use the resources from today to help you with the application. And also that networking is really important. Keep in touch with people, see if somebody here might be able to even take a glance at your resume to give some feedback, because we are an employer of choice. Just as First Lady Jill Biden said today, we are making huge strides with military spouse employment over the last several years, and especially in the last couple of years. So it's been really great to be able to bring this event to USDA and to other federal agencies. We're really, really thrilled to see all the spouses in attendance, and especially excited to see all the interest in USDA. It is a very family-friendly environment here, and I feel like all the people you see that are supporting this event today are like family to me. So thank you all for joining us, and I will turn it back over to anyone else on the team that'd like to make some comments, or if anyone has any additional questions.
We did get one question from Carrie. Are there any opportunities for teachers?
Yeah, and I think some of Sharon's responses that she put in are great. I mean, we do have training and educational specialists all throughout USDA, but as Sharon pointed out, you may have other transferable skills for other opportunities. And I see Manchi's hand is up.
And Neva commented too. So.
Okay, and Neva also commented. Go ahead.
Yeah, for folks who are teachers, the U.S. Forest Service, they have actual positions for teachers and nurses, so yeah, with the U.S. Forest Service, I send out their, whenever they advertise certain positions, they share it with me and I send it out through my networks. So of course I'll share it with Christine, and she'll get it out. And I know a lot of people registered for this thing, and usually out of Zoom we'll send you information on jobs. When we get an opening like a teacher position, those are not across the department, but the Forest Service does have them. But I think Karen was saying that, hey, a teacher can be a training manager or a training specialist as well. And we have those where, you can possibly end up managing a program, like Carol Scott. She's a school teacher, for example, in OHR. So yeah, definitely.
And we also have with, at the departmental level, we have our, talent management division where we have training specialists Also in the animal plant health and inspection service, they have a center for training and organizational development, where they have training specialists or educational specialists. And so, yes, we have, I think if you have transferable skills, then you should be able to easily find those opportunities if they're open, if there are vacancies within USDA. You're welcome, Carrie.
While we're in pause and kind of waiting for others to ask additional questions, I'd just like to take a moment to make an announcement that the U.S. Forest Service is hosting a military spouse event tomorrow, informational and hiring event. The Forest Service is actively seeking 52 positions right now. It's not the end of all the positions, but we are actively seeking 52 positions. Our informational and hiring event is tomorrow at 12 p.m. It's an hour. It's just over lunch. Come bring your snacks, be prepared. I will be facilitating the event. We will be going over several topics along with identifying some of those positions. So we have this event tailored to military spouses so that we can have an opportunity to engage with you guys, talk with you guys. And there are 4 other Forest Service employees that are on this call today. Sean Tillman and Jason Gaffney are both HR specialists that are a little bit more targeted towards veterans programs. So they will be available there to answer those. We also have human resource specialists that are on the call. Both Dee and Jean, they are available to and will be available tomorrow to answer any questions. So if you're looking for a position, we do hire teachers. We hire teachers in a variety of different areas, from social scientists to human resources to business operations. I believe being a teacher is a really great commodity because you have a very good strategic way of thinking to help people learn and help people to solve problems on their own. And so I think that is a really wonderful skill to bridge into other areas within our agency as you bring that to the table and learn more about the Forest Service processes, USDA's processes, and how you can make your own way for yourself within our agency. And I'll turn it back over to you, Karen.
Thank you very much for making that announcement. The other thing that I shared was that I mentioned we have 29 agencies within USDA. Many of those agencies have career pages where they post their opportunities as they become open. Sometimes USA jobs can be very challenging to navigate. And so if you want to know about opportunities with specific agencies within USDA, I suggest you go to usda.gov, where on the landing page, you'll see there are a list of our different agencies. I click on that particular agency link, and then typically they have like about that particular agency where you click there and you can find their career page or career opportunities listed. And so basically what I'm saying is that, you know, those particular positions that would be otherwise listed on USDA jobs right there on that particular agency's career page. Easier, in my opinion, to navigate and find those opportunities. Any other questions in the chat, Renee?
Yes, we have one from Lisa. I recently applied for a Forest Service job in Missoula, Montana. Do you have an estimate approximately how long it might take to hear back?
Yeah, so great question. This question we received, I think, in just about each one of our sessions this afternoon. The time frame varies. It depends on the number of applicants that may have applied. So the number of actual application packages that HR would need to go through. But in terms of each stage of the process, whether or not you are minimally qualified or eligible for the position, you should be notified. Also, on each of the vacancy announcements, there is typically a point of contact in human resources that you can reach out to either by phone or email, who can easily give you a status of where they are with that particular position. So that's what I would suggest you do. We don't usually like to give out timeframes because, again, it varies. Wonderful.
Savannah asked if any of the agencies would be willing to share any remote opportunities they have.
I'll let Forest Service, Animal, Plant and Health Inspection, Rural Development, Agricultural Resource Service answer that question for Savannah, based on what you're currently aware of.
And I'll just take a pass really quick. If she refers back to the emails that have been going out in the days leading up to this event, there have been several jobs that have been released via those job lines, and those are updated if they're live on USA Jobs. So definitely circle back and review some of those, because I know USAID has several, but there's even more that have been added just as of today, especially with Forest Service. And then take it away, Forest Service, if you have more to add.
And I'd just like to add that if you want to find out the status, I think the folks in the USA Jobs showed you how to do that. But in every vacancy announcement, there's usually an HR point of contact. That's your first place that you should ask, and to send an email and inquire that way, before you move to any other means. The best way is to connect to that HR specialist that's in charge of that particular vacancy. And they can give you the best, the best update.
Absolutely. So do we have any other questions before we close out with a message from our Secretary Tom Vilsack?
I was just going to say, Karen, if you hadn't, take a look at the Forest Service and how they do their webinar. It's pretty neat. They have a best practice going on. So it's pretty.
Way to go, Forest Service. And hopefully everyone will join at noon tomorrow. That's Eastern Standard Time, correct? Forest Service?
That is correct. It is Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
So the middle of the day, we made sure that we can meet East and West Coast needs.
Awesome. So you all will be able to experience that for yourselves, because they will be conducting a webinar about their opportunities they have available over at the U.S. Forest Service. Oh, that's super, Savannah. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We are so happy that you all are considering career opportunities with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And with that, Renee, if we could go ahead and show the video.
It's an honor to mark the very first Federal Interagency Military Spouse Career Expo, and for it to be hosted by the Military Spouse Association on behalf of USDA. I'm very proud of the Military Spouse Association. In less than a year, it's grown to nearly 400 members and demonstrated meaningful advocacy for military spouses. Our military is the envy of the world, protecting our nation from threats at home and abroad. The men and women who serve it deserve our profound gratitude, as do their spouses, who also make incredible sacrifices to keep our nation safe. Military spouses and families are the foundation on which our military community and national security depend. Military spouses possess incredible strength and uncommon resilience. They understand the incredible power of personal sacrifice as they balance family responsibilities while their loved ones serve their country far away. But despite their profound contributions and unique talents, military spouses face unfortunate challenges in the employment sector. We know that military spouses are a versatile workforce. And they have knowledge and skills and experience and, of course, the fortitude to contribute to the betterment of American life in much the way that their spouses do. However, for far too long, they've gone ignored by the job market. Military spouses face the highest unemployment rates in the country at 22%. And what's more, those who are employed experience a 26% wage gap compared to their civilian counterparts. This is unacceptable. The power of this Expo is that it works to ensure that the best in our country have access to the well-paying and meaningful work they deserve. As a nation, we owe military families a debt of gratitude. Military members and their spouses are the backbone of our national security, and we owe it to them to break down barriers to employment by creating inclusive policies. The Biden-Harris administration understands this. Our commitment to supporting military families manifests itself today and in the Joining Forces initiative spearheaded by First Lady Jill Biden, which strengthens support for military families in 3 critical areas: military spousal employment and entrepreneurship, military child education, and the well-being of military families. We want military spouses and families to thrive in all areas of life, and for many that means a fulfilling and stable career. Events like this one, with participation from so many governmental partners, including the Departments of Labor and Energy, Housing and Urban Development, and State Department, FEMA, and more, demonstrate the whole of government commitment to advancing military spousal employment. All of the federal agencies present today are part of the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program as well. Now, this opportunity forgives student loans after 10 years of service in federal, state, local, or tribal governments. I know folks at USDA have taken advantage of this great program, and I hope it's something that you consider as you discuss employment opportunities today. Around 10% of USDA's workforce is veterans and military spouses, including our own USDA Deputy Secretary, Dr. Jewel Bernal, who serves as the Military Spouse Association's employee organization champion. She is a strong voice for military spouses because she has been in their shoes. She understands the sacrifices they make to support our troops. Military service is something we at USDA understand because so many from rural communities go on to serve our nation, and many veterans become farmers after leaving active service. The talents, the resiliency, the commitment of our military members and spouses is always welcome at USDA. Our department is a great place to work, and we're committed to making it an even better place to work. We'll soon be releasing a new diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility plan that will outline our goal of creating an inclusive culture, hiring veterans, and increasing our support for employees with disabilities. We're listening to our employees and working to make USDA that serves everyone in a way that is meaningful to them. I celebrate the achievements of the Military Spouse Association. Organizations like this are critical to morale and inclusion within USDA. And I'm proud of the incredible work you're doing and congratulate you on this inaugural Career Expo. I want to again thank you for your great service to our great nation and wish you the best of luck.